Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Tom Johnson begins now.
A man has been fined $1,000 for failing to comply with public health orders after unlawfully arriving in Tasmania earlier this week. It comes as the state's tourism and hospitality sectors grapple with a lack of tourists as our borders remain shut to almost half the country.
Usually raining tourists, today the outlook at the Salamanca market was bleak.
We come to the market every Saturday, have been for a long time, and today is probably the quietest I have ever seen it.
Stallholders left to grapple with the empty streets.
It's really hard, trading is really slow.
The impact of the latest border closure with Victoria stretching throughout the tourism and hospitality industries. Most left feeling the same way.
Very flat. Very anxious. I think the Victorian situation the last couple of days has absolutely pulled the rug on industry sentiment and confidence.
Calling for relief from the federal government.
The federal government's got disaster relief payments in place. If you're eligible to get them in Victoria and New South Wales, it seems pretty obvious that the economic impact for Tassie is just as significant.
Worried about what the coming weeks and months will look like if the borders remain shut.
They've got to do something because so many people are really struggling.
It's really affecting all people in tourism here. We don't get any JobKeeper or anything.
Now the calls have been backed in by the Premier.
As this progresses, and especially if Victoria stays in its lockdown for longer, then I think that there is going to be a need for a package to look at the second order impacts for the smaller states.
Meanwhile, Public Health has revealed more information about the state's COVID case recorded earlier in the week. The New South Wales man has been charged $1,000 by New South Wales Police for failing to comply with public health orders in the state and is isolating at home. But the case triggered an immediate response from Tasmanians.
1,888 COVID tests were processed across the state, which is a new record.
All returning negative. Changes will be made to how people from Level 1 high-risk areas are managed. Questions were raised earlier this week over why the man was able to leave quarantine early to fly home while infected with the virus.
We'll need to apply to the Deputy State Controller and will only be approved for release from quarantine early in order to leave the state if they have received at least one negative COVID-19 test.
Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
Huon aquaculture could soon be in overseas hands after global meat giant JBS lobbed a $425 million takeover deal. The state government is confident the buyout is positive for Tasmania, but some aren't so sure.
The bait of sale had tempted Huon for months, and last night Brazilian meat giant JBS reeled them in.
We've now got to the stage where there has been an offer for the company.
A takeover plan worth up to $550 million, including debt, which could see the ownership of the Tasmanian salmon sweetheart cast overseas. Under the deal, JBS, which has a footprint in Longford, will pay $3.85 for each Huon share, well above the current market price and well below the $4.50 mark it was before COVID.
Given the issues around COVID and the operational performance of the company, the shares had fallen significantly in the last 6 to 12 months.
In a statement, Huon described the deal as a testament to the strong position it holds in the Australian salmon market. As for the 800 employees statewide, they expect there will be no disruption to business operations.
They should be recognised for their efforts over time. As I've said, they've employed a lot of people.
Despite the assurances, opponents fear a new big business regime could squeeze out the small guys.
They're using increasing amounts of technology to reduce the number of workers that they need against the profits.
But the Premier is optimistic jobs won't be lost and environmental standards won't slip.
They have been a very reasonable corporate citizen in their time in Tasmania. I don't expect that will change.
This eye-watering takeover would see JBS tighten its grip on the Australian meat industry. Currently it owns more than a quarter of the nation's pork and beef processing, but this would be a first for the company in seafood production. It will further grow our Australian protein business, they said in a statement. Though the buyout is not a done deal, the Foreign Investment Review Board will slice and dice the proposal before Huon shareholders vote in October. Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Keen anglers were back out on the water today for the opening of the state's trout season. Strong winter rainfalls are expected to deliver promising fishing conditions. 20,000 trout have been transported to the regional dams and lakes across the Central Highlands to keep stock levels sustainable. The state's fishing industry generates an estimated $90 million annually. Tasmania's rugby community has joined forces with Colony 47 to help those sleeping rough. Players and supporters today donning caps and beanies as part of the Hat for Homelessness initiative. Coinciding with National Homelessness Week, the event aims to start conversations around the issue.
A hat is something that you put on, it's something that you experience, but it's not who you are as a person. It's something that's affecting you right now, but it's not who you are.
It's a conversation that we all should be having. It's something that can affect each and every one of us, especially at times of COVID.
It's estimated around 2,500 people are sleeping rough across Tasmania. To the TSL now, and a last gasp goal from Luke Graham has helped the Tigers steal a come-from-behind win over Clarence. In other matches, Lauderdale had a close win over North Hobart, while Launceston made light work of Glenorchy, crushing the Magpies by 146 points.
It was high stakes at Blunston Arena, with a home final up for grabs. Josh Green getting Clarence off to a good start. The Roos 3 goals up at the first break. The second, a quieter affair, both sides scoring just 2 goals. But the Tigers reduced the margin to 14. Clarence pulled away again in the third, but 2 late Kingborough goals reduced the margin to just 8. The final term a thriller, with the scores level twice in the quarter. Someone needed to be a hero, and Luke Graham did just that. An important win for the Tigers. They could still host Clarence in the elimination final. At Windsor Park, it took just 80 seconds for Launceston to open their account through Zach Morris. Glenorchy levelled minutes later, but that's as close as the margin would get. 6 goals to 2 had the Blues leading by 28 points at the first change.
Picked up by Harper, don't argue on the left foot, Joby Harper kicks a goal.
The margin 76 points at halftime, before growing to a whopping 20 goals by the final change. Morris having a day out, bagging 9 goals. A good effort for someone who generally plays down back.
Zach Morris, 9 goals.
No signs of complacency in the Launceston camp. The Blues romping to a 146-point win. And at Skybus, Lauderdale and North Hobart were out of finals contention, but there was tension early on. The Demons wasting early chances, kicking 0-6 in the first quarter. North Hobart finding their kicking boots in the second, scoring 7-0 to lead by 5 goals in the main break. But the Southern Bombers hit back in the third, reducing the margin to just 10 with a quarter to play. In a tense final quarter, the home side edged ahead late and would hold on by just 3 points. John Hunt, 7 Tasmanian News.
Tasmanian Nathan Ellis' Australian career has started well, creating history in Bangladesh overnight. He became the first Australian T20 player to take a hat-trick on debut. His effort coming in the final over of Bangladesh's innings, helping restrict the home side to just 127. The last Australian to achieve the feat in any format was Damien Fleming against Pakistan in 1994.
It was just really, really cool. Sort of all the boys really embraced me and walking off to the guys, it was just a surreal moment, and not going to forget it.
But Australia's T20 woes continued, eventually losing the match by 10 runs. The Northern Hawks have continued their dominance in State League netball, winning in a thriller against Cavaliers. However, the latter leaders were tested by their cross-town rival, who threatened a ball over late in the match. But the Cavs struggled to grasp their opportunities in the goal circle. The Hawks eventually won 55-53 to remain undefeated.
Good evening. 17 was the state's top today at Launceston, Devonport 16, 15 in Burnie, Hobart 13. A high of 14 across Smithton and Lowhead, Grove 12 and 16 in St Helens. On the close-up shows open cellular low-level cloud streaming over Tasmania. Further out, a band of middle-level cloud lies along the west coast of WA, while onshore flow is bringing low cloud to parts of the Queensland coast. Tomorrow, a trough lies along the WA coast, followed by a cold front. Northwest to northeast winds tomorrow 5 to 15 knots, swells up to 5 metres in the west and south and up to 1 metre in the north. A road weather alert is current for icy roads in the Midlands and East Coast forecast districts. Tomorrow's forecast now, 13 across Hobart and Ouse, morning frost and partly cloudy at Richmond. In the north, 13 in Launceston, light late showers about Devonport and Deloraine. Burnie tomorrow, a late shower or two, 13 across Strawn and Curry. St Helens and Swansea 13 and partly cloudy in Whitemark. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast, Monday light showers about the north and west coast, fine elsewhere. Tuesday north to northwesterly winds, showers about the north and west. And Wednesday showers more frequent about the north and west with possible thunderstorms. Capital cities 20 and showers in Perth tomorrow. Adelaide partly cloudy and 32 in Darwin. And currently Hobart 7 and mostly clear, Launceston 8 and Devonport partly cloudy. That's all for weather tonight, Tom.
Still pretty chilly out there. Thanks so much for that, Jackie.